Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. So, a lot of times people come to us and they'll say, I've had an MRI done, or I'd like an MRI done, or I've had X-ray pictures done, or I'd like X-ray pictures done. Which should I have? I've been on Google and I've read that MRIs are the best type of picture that I can have. But then I've also read that when I come to Wigan Family Chiropractic Hospital, you run an X-ray department and you take X-rays. So in today's video, what I'm going to work on doing is explaining just some of the big differences between having an MRI and having an X-ray study. And I'm going to explain how they can be useful in different circumstances. And I'm going to explain how we make use of them when we're working with patients. So when you Google it, you're gonna come back with the answer that MRIs are seen as being the gold standard in taking an image or making a picture of the inside of a person. And the reason MRIs are considered of such a high standard is because when you use them, it sounds a little bit gruesome at first, but an MRI can make pictures in slices of you. So you can take a picture where you can look at one layer of a person, then the next, then the next, then the next, and look at a person in a lot of detail. That's the first difference. The second big difference from an X-ray picture is that an MRI shows a lot more what we call soft tissues. So what that means is an MRI shows a lot more detail about muscles, fat, discs, water, whereas an X-ray study is more geared to focus on looking at bones, bone structure, and then the spaces where the discs live, the spaces where the joints are. So there's two quite big differences there. And sometimes, in fact, quite often people go, Mike, I'm wondering which I should have. And when we meet with patients whose concern is cancer, an MRI scan can go into more detail. So if somebody's concern is cancer or a tumour, meaning the same thing, then an MRI scan is the highest standard of picture that you can have made of you. So that's going to extremes, because fortunately we don't get too many people coming in where that's the primary concern. But then one of the big disadvantages of an MRI, and this is one of the reasons why we don't have an MRI facility here at our hospital. We do refer people for them though, we do send people for them, is when you have an MRI done, they're usually done lying down in our country. And in most of the world, MRI scans are done lying down. Now, there are 2 or 3 places in the UK where you can have an MRI scan done standing up or sat up or in whatever position something hurts you. But because in a chiropractic setting, we're really focusing on your spine, because your spinal cord lives inside your spine, your brain sits at the top of your spinal cord, and your brain talks through your spinal cord, which is inside your spine, and it comes out as nerves all around your body, out of the spine. So we specialise in looking at people's spines and spinal cords and nervous systems. And the thing is, an MRI of somebody lying down looks really different to an MRI when they can be done of somebody being stood up. So a really important example is a lot of people will come in, and if we're talking about back pain and sciatica being one example, if they have an MRI scan done lying down, there can be areas where they've got bones in the spine that have shifted forwards or backwards, putting pressure on nerves and damaging them. And because they've had an MRI done lying down, the bones will almost slot back into place, if that makes sense. I'm simplifying it a bit, but it's what can happen. So then what happens is, we've got a person where they've got a vertebra or a spine bone that's moved backwards or forwards. And they can have more than one of those, but the MRI scan's hiding it. And some radiologists will say that if you do an MRI scan of somebody lying down compared to standing up, you see problems appear and disappear. And that's because when you're weight bearing, if you're on your feet, the weight of your body pressing down through your spine massively changes the alignment of it, and that can include vertebrae moving backwards and forwards out of alignment. It can include vertebrae looking twisted and out of place. So the reason we take x-ray studies is it lets us look at people's spines, it lets us look at people's bones in a lot of detail. It lets us infer a lot of information about people's spinal cord and about the discs in the spine. But because it's done stood up, it tells us a lot about a person's alignment. And in a chiropractic setting, to help someone's spine, to help the spinal cord, to help the rest of the person that lives around that, it's really, really, really crucial that you can look at how someone's spine is aligned. And most people don't use the spines very much when they're lying down, like in an MRI scan. They use the spines when they're sat up, when they're stood up, when they're moving around. So when we're taking x-ray pictures, we always take them stood up. And when we do that, you've got an x-ray picture of someone stood up. It shows the misalignments that they might have or might not have. Just as important, it can show if vertebrae have got displaced backwards or forwards on top of each other, or if they've got rotated and out of position. And then the thing that's really, really good is you can also, if somebody has a problem in the neck where it only happens when they put the head in a certain position, or they've got pain down the leg when they put the back in a certain position, you can take the x-ray picture in the position where it triggers a problem, and then you can find out even more about the person's problem. So that's how we use MRIs and x-rays to look for problems. The thing that we really like about our x-ray studies is, yes, if someone's got a lot of different diseases going on, the x-ray can show them what's happening. It can help us find out what's happening. That's really, really good, and that can be a complete game changer for people. Also, once we've took an x-ray picture, we look at them and we use them to make a map of the person. So if I was going back a step, before we've even ever took any x-ray pictures or sent somebody for a scan, when we've done somebody's consultation, we're using our hands to assess the spine and see where it's moving, where it's not moving, or where it's stuck. And then once we've done the x-ray picture, we can see what the problems look like that we felt with our hands. And then when we start giving somebody chiropractic care, when we're working on releasing and guiding the spine back towards being realigned, the beauty of the x-ray pictures is it gives us a map of how a person is aligned and misaligned, and you can use that when you work on a person to try and help them realign and reconnect. So those are just some of the reasons why we run an x-ray department at our hospital. We run a digital x-ray department nowadays, which basically means that the pictures are very, very high quality. So when we're using them, they look for problems. They're very sensitive to looking for problems. And when we're using them to make a map of a person, we've got a very high level of detail. So the map that we're working from is very detailed. And we also then work with a radiologist. So what that means is, apart from our team, there's 5 of us here, we have a radiologist that works remotely from us. And what he does is, he looks at all of the x-ray pictures that we take and explains what problems he's found, what recommendations he would make, so that when we're working with a person, we've looked at their x-rays, but also our radiologist that works with us, he sees the x-rays of every single person that we work here with. So really, when someone's having their x-ray study done with us, they're getting 2 pairs of eyes on the x-rays, and they're getting 2 different sets of benefits from the x-rays. They're getting a screening, if you like, or an assessment, if you like, for underlying problems. But maybe it's more exciting to me is that we're generating a map to work from. So when we look at a person and they've explained what problems they're hoping that they heal and recover from, when I look at their x-ray picture, I'm thinking, well, we could work on this area and help release it. We could work on that area and help release it. There's an opportunity. There's an opportunity. There's a number of ways we could work with that person and help guide them back towards better health, getting out of pain, healing and recovering and enjoying themselves again. I hope that helps, guys. And I can see there's a lot of nice people on here, so we better thank everybody. Hello, Sharon. Good afternoon to you. Lena, good afternoon to you. Debbie, thank you for being on here, Debbie. Good afternoon. Anne, thank you for joining us. Wendy, thank you for joining us. Julie, one of our number one fans here. We've got one of our other number one fans on here, Emma, so I can't have two, but it's nice. It's really nice to hear your comments and your compliments. Well, thank you, Emma. We'll see you soon. Dawn, nice to see you on here. Both Dawns, we've got two Dawns on. Thanks for being on here. And Pip, good afternoon, Pip. Good afternoon to you, sir. Have a lovely day, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you soon on another video.